The Politics program brought to you as always by everybody who supports us at TakePoliticsSeriously.com. You and everyone you know and love deserve a politics program that doesn't try to incite you into a riot. Nay, it only brings you the kind of news analysis that you have always been craving. You can always hang out at the pep rally, but at some point you're gonna want to check the score. And that's what we do here at Politics. That's what I venture to bring you as we barrel into 2019, functionally, the beginning of the 2020 presidential campaign. This is an essential part of your balanced political diet. And we thank those that make it possible. TakePoliticsSeriously.com. If you are at the $3 a week level, you get 3 podcasts, one on Monday, one on Friday, in addition to this one, which will always be free on Wednesday. So, what do you say we stop talking about how we support the show? What do you say we just do the damn thing? Hey, ladies and gents, what's going on? Folks, here we go. Now, girls, what's my weakness? Politics. All right. Hey, look, we got a lot to talk about. Fuck. Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God, I didn't realize how much I missed it. I didn't realize how much I missed it till I had it again. I didn't realize how much I missed it until it was back. If polls, if discussion, if data that dares bring us closer to a presidential election was Cardi B, then picture me Offset bringing flowers on stage at an inappropriate, nay, offensive moment. That is what I am. Because, guys, we have something that we have not had in a very, very, very long time. Really, since 2016. Presidential polls! Ooh! Oh, I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. Oh, we got 2 of them. We got 2 polls. We're going to talk about all of them. Oh, we're going to talk about who the polls are good for. We're going to talk about who the polls are bad for. We're going to talk about all of it, man. But we're also going to talk about a new challenger. A new challenger. Oh, you want to know what? All the way from Hawaii, if you cup your hand to your ear, you could hear.
I just felt like running.
Oh, who is this new challenger? And does she present a real unique problem for some of the front runners? Is Elizabeth Warren kind of fucked? She might be. Also, number 1. We're going to talk about the South Carolina looking to take their primary off the schedule so as to protect Donald Trump, and whether or not that is actually something that Donald Trump would want. And also, I'm going to make a case here. Long have I told you that Donald Trump is still going to be the favorite to win in 2020 if everything remains the same and the economy remains healthy. But I'm going to make the case that there might be some core Trump base erosion going on, all about things that are happening right this second. all that and the pole dance and your emails. But let's just go ahead and start things off. All right. Come on. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and get into this right fucking now. Just kidding. We're not. We're not doing the pole dance yet, but we are going to talk about polls. We are going to talk about polls. This is the first one that came out. The Des Moines Register did their first straw poll for prospective Democratic challengers. And here were the results. Number one, Joe Biden came in first. He had about 30% of the vote, followed by Bernie Sanders, who had a significant portion, like 18%. Then Beto O'Rourke. Then Kamala Harris. Then Elizabeth Warren. Then Kamala Harris. Then Cory Booker. And then, everybody else. I think Bloomberg. There was a Bloomberg in there. Here's what you need to know about this poll. Here is what you need to know. Number one, in the poll, the corresponding poll to the 2016 election, the number one vote getter was Jeb Bush. Polls this early are very rarely about accuracy. Like all polls, they're just a snapshot of the moment that they are taken. But really, you are looking more at name recognition and where everybody is in the starting blocks. So think of a presidential race like Mario Kart. Everybody doesn't start off on the same line. Everybody's kind of staggered. If you lost the last race, you're going to be in the back. Doesn't mean you can't win. It just means that you have further to come back from. If you're up front, doesn't mean you're guaranteed to win. Just means for that one little moment when everybody starts their engines, you're going to be a little bit ahead. You're going to have a little bit of an advantage. Now, there are miles to go before any of this shit matters, but here are my takeaways. Joe Biden was, and would have been in 2016, the legacy to the Obama empire. Specifically, after 4 years of Trump, the idea of would you like to go back to the way things were under Obama will be a very potent campaign slogan for many Democratic primary voters, specifically those in Iowa. Biden is also somebody that has campaigned in Iowa previously. He has connections. He knows how to campaign there. That just is what it is. Now, I'm almost positive somebody we're going to have to go to our research department down here to see if you guys can find something for me. This, of course, our chat room, twitch.tv/JustinRYoung. Did Biden make the clean and nice comment while campaigning in Iowa? I think he might have. I think Joe Biden might have called Obama clean and nice, a flub that ended his campaign in 2008. I think he said that while he was on the campaign trail in Iowa. But somebody might be able to look that up for me. We continue. He is where he should be. There's nobody else that has the name recognition, that has the pedigree that Joe Biden has. He spent 8 years in the White House. That's that. Number two, Bernie Sanders. A lot of talk. Man, we are in such... Oh, man, I love this phase of the campaign. I love every phase of the campaign. I just like campaigns. I love it. I love it. But I love this phase of the campaign right now. So cloak and dagger. Secrets. Shh. Alliances being made. People being recruited. Donors being courted. Everything that you read in Politico, everything that you read on thehill.com, everything you read in Axios, if it seems like it's making a weird comment, like, wait a minute, why would anybody even care about that? It's because it's being leaked to the press for a very specific reason. Well, hell, we said so right on this show a couple days ago. You know, that there's all this stuff out here with Bernie. Bernie might be too old. Some old Bernie staffers think that he might be a little bit too old. Well, I wonder who's running that. Probably people that don't have as much name recognition as Bernie Sanders. So I think what you're going to see is that Bernie Sanders will still have the Bernie block. The Bernie block that existed in 2016 will exist in 2020. He is going to be very, very, very hard to beat because it will be a big gang fuck of a primary. And in a gang fuck of a primary, then a unshakable block means a lot. So, that being said, here's where... Oh, and then there's Beto. Motherfucking Beto came in third. This dude, I swear to God, man, I don't know if anyone in life has made more out of a loss than Beto O'Rourke. He still hasn't announced whether or not he's going to run for president. We have no idea, but he's third in Iowa. Iowa likes him. Here's where you're going to start to see some bad news. It's bad news for Elizabeth Warren that she's not in the Beto spot. It's bad news for Cory Booker, considering he has had a bigger presence not only in Iowa but in national politics over the last 8 years, that he's not closer to where Beto is right now. Kamala Harris, I don't really worry about so much. She is kind of just building her national profile. And so she is where she is, but I think that kind of makes sense. She is somebody that you're going to have to watch to see whether or not she continues to kind of grow. But to me, that's a bad poll. And again, as much as a poll taken 2 years before an event can really be good or bad, it's a bad poll for Cory Booker. It's a bad poll for Elizabeth Warren, but not as bad as this poll for old Elizabeth Warren. Because we got 2 polls. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. We got 2 polls? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. No, we're not. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. We can't do it for every poll. We can't do it for every poll. We're not going to do it. Wouldn't be prudent. Bernie Sanders tops a poll, a straw poll of progressives. This is from Politico. Senator Bernie Sanders, independent Vermont, tops the first 2020 straw poll by the Progressive Political Action Committee, Democracy for America, by a wide margin, followed by Joe Biden and Beto O'Rourke. Senator Elizabeth Warren, meanwhile, has seen her stock slide amongst the group's members, according to the poll released Tuesday and obtained first by Politico. The Massachusetts Democrat, whose success in similar polling 4 years ago propelled the DFA to organize a massive but ultimately unsuccessful effort to draft her into the 2016 campaign, was running fourth. The straw poll is more significant as a sign of organizational support than as a measure of public opinion. DFA boasts more than 1 million members after shifting its support from Warren to Sanders in 2016. Now, I want to talk mostly, look, 2 big surprises in this poll. Number one, that Beto polls well with progressives. Progressives seem to like him a little bit. Biden is friendly to progressives, or progressives are not, they don't hate on Joe Biden. That's very good for Biden. That is very good for Biden. Obviously, Bernie, this is his crowd. But really, the key here is Warren. And you might think, wait a minute. Elizabeth Warren is about as progressive gets. She's for Medicare for all, right? She's for all the same kind of Wall Street reforms that Bernie Sanders is. In terms of these two politicians, you would think that they are, by and large, the same person, right? But are they? I think if you're smart, if you remember, as I think that these progressive organizers do, Elizabeth Warren is somebody that was not popular when I was at the Democratic National Convention. Let's take a trip in the Wayback Machine, shall we? I found this little Quora query from 2016. Why has Elizabeth Sanders not endorsed Bernie Sanders? These are all answered around June 2016. This is when Bernie had made his move, was challenging Hillary Clinton, and Elizabeth Warren was on the fence. She didn't endorse him. In the minds of some Bernie diehards, or at least the ones that I talked to, this was a tremendous offense. This was the move. There was a razor thin margin that needed to be pushed over. It's the kind of endorsement that might have sent seismic shockwaves through the campaign, that might have rattled and ultimately unseated Hillary Clinton in the same way that key endorsement defections rattled and unseated Hillary Clinton against Barack Obama. And with all of that, with history in her face, with progressive supporters who wanted her to run, but if she wasn't going to run, please support the other person that we supported, she did nothing. I think Elizabeth Warren has a problem with progressive organizers. And ultimately, I think that that kind of puts her strategy in a different place. I like to think of a primary like this that has so many candidates as many different primaries happening at the same time. So you've got the progressive primary, which right now is Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, by and large, right? And then you got the moderate, the mainstream, the Costco Democrat, right? A Democrat for all seasons. Joe Biden, Beto O'Rourke, and Cory Booker, right? I think that Elizabeth Warren, a win for Elizabeth Warren in these primaries might be more as an exciting mainstream candidate than a progressive warrior. And that's going to take a little bit of doing, because right now, that's how she is thought of. Primarily, Elizabeth Warren is as a progressive firebrand. I wonder if she can be if she can mold herself into being a more exciting, stick to your guns Hillary Clinton without the Clinton baggage. Because that's what I think she might be better off doing. Because if you look at this lack of support from progressives, that's a problem. That's a problem if you're talking about running against Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is going to have nothing. He's got diehards with him. He's got huge, massive crowds that will ride or die with that dude forever. If you can't tap into that, if you can't erode that, Warren might be DOA. Man, I'll tell you what, that Native American DNA might as well also be your chances of winning if she can't tap into the progressives or change the way that she's looked at. Here's something that might fuck something up for Bernie, though. Because I do think that part of what people say about Bernie is that, look, he's old as shit. He's not even a Democrat. He's going to win the Democratic primary and not even be in the goddamn party. He can't win. We need somebody young. Sure, his ideas are good for the progressive voter, but we need somebody. And you want to know what? Wasn't this supposed to be the fucking year of the woman? Right? We're going to have one, we almost come close, win the popular vote to breaking the glass ceiling, and next thing you know, we're going to put an old white man right back in there? A new challenger has entered the arena. Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, yeah. Tulsi Gabbard. I'll tell you what. She's as progressive as Bernie is. She's used to bucking conventions. She's a whole fuck of a lot younger. She's 37 years old, from Hawaii. That seemed to work with the last Democratic president. Here's the AP story. One of Representative Tulsi Gabbard's duties when she was deployed to Iraq with the Hawaii Army National Guard in 2005 was to scan a list of U.S. combat casualties for names of her unit's soldiers. Her job as a brigade surgeon operations specialist was to make sure that these soldiers got the care that they needed. This daily confrontation with the cost of war helped propel the 37-year-old Hawaii Democrat to a path to Congress and now potentially a run for president. Quote, I saw how few leaders in Washington had foresight and thought about the consequences and decisions that they made, that they didn't think through the cost of this war, and and who paid the price, Gabbard told the Associated Press. Damn, Tulsi. Sounds like you're running for president. Whether Gabbard will mount a bid for the Democratic Party's nomination for president is something that she said she's, quote, thinking through very carefully. Spoiler alert. The reason why stories like this run is because you do the work to make them run. And for Tulsi, she went to BuzzFeed. And now this is an AP article based on that. You say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about my run for president. Now, it doesn't mean that you will run. It means that you want to run. From there, you see, okay, well, what kind of staff can I assemble? What kind of money can I get over here so I can pay all these people? You start letting everything feel out a little bit. But Tulsi could be, she would be definite bad news for Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, because she is right in their lane. And she might be fucking really bad news for Bernie Sanders. Now, how will progressives react to her? I need the progressive listeners of the Politics program. Email me, theyoungamerican@gmail.com, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. I need you to rank them. Only if you're a progressive. I don't need to hear about my conservative listeners. I don't need to hear about my moderate listeners. I need my progressive listeners. I need you to email theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Rank those four. Bernie, Warren, Tulsi, Harris. Those four. Just those four. I would also like to remind you guys that the free political newsletter is available at freepoliticalnewsletter.com. You can subscribe to it. Comes to you 5 days a week, 5 stories a day, mostly gifts, sometimes hot takes. Guys, we are barreling toward 2,000 subscribers. We only really started this thing this year. We already got 2,000 people that are getting this thing every single day. Our open rate on this stuff is fantastic. And I didn't like to plug it a lot over the last couple of weeks because just between you, me, and the wall, the news sucked a butt. Oh, my God. Here's another story about how Donald Trump is possibly going to be mad about the Mueller investigation. Here's another story about how Michael Cohen flipped on the president. Here's another story about the wall. But now, yes, polls, excitement. This is my wheelhouse. I am very, very, very excited. This is a good time to get in. And guess what? Friends, it's free. FreePoliticalNewsletter.com. I'm guaranteeing you, you're not going to be reading the same shit that you get on other political newsletters because everybody's just so, it's just like they're just addicts for every little bit of Trump news. And we're going to talk about Trump in a second. But every little bit, Michael Cohen, they just crush it up. Just snort it. Just taking key bumps of Paul Manafort's taxes. Enough. You won't get that with FreePoliticalNewsletter.com. We do it a little differently, and it's free. FreePoliticalNewsletter.com. All right. So there was a lot of news today that South Carolina might look to alter their primary schedule, so effectively it would not exist. This, according to the headlines, was to protect Donald Trump, just in case Donald Trump got primaried. I am here to tell you that if Donald Trump were to be primaried, you would see along the landscape of Washington, D.C., one gigantic, erect poker into the sky in the Washington Monument. And then, right behind it, depending on where your vantage point was, you would see yet another gigantic, erect monument right behind it. It would be Donald Trump's penis because he would be so excited that he was being primaried in 2019 and 2020. I very much believe that he could, it would be a dream. He would love it. In fact, if he is primaried, I'm going to go out and I'm going to own the fact that it's a false flag. I'm going to say, congratulations, I'm clearing out that corner. If Donald Trump is primaried, guys, there's so many reasons why this is, and folks, they are not even trying anymore. They are not even trying. This is a false flag operation. So President Trump, brilliant, can have himself an easier path to the White House. Guys, it is just so easy to tell that this is being done from the inside. Whoever's going to primary Donald Trump is a sleeper agent. Why wouldn't Donald Trump want to be primaried? Here's what would happen. Number one, it is something that he would be very unlikely to lose. Typically, sitting presidents don't get primaried. If a sitting president were to get primaried, by all accounts, he would probably win because he's a fucking sitting president. Number two, it gives him another must-cover, wall-to-wall, 24/7 ratings bonanza story that everybody has to continue to pay attention to. Number three, it is a refresher for his hardcore base to say, look, they're after him. The deep state is going for him. No matter what has happened in the past, no matter what we think about him, we think that it's unfair that people are trying to take him out. He's the first Republican president to be primaried in forever. This is absolute horseshit. We need to rally around our man, Donald Trump. But also there's this. That Democratic primary is already going to be about 1 million people. How much press do you think the Democratic primary would get if Donald Trump was also running in his same primary? Or in that same primary season? Bupkiss. Nothing. Nobody would cover the Democratic side of this. He would deny, and specifically since other than Joe Biden, again, all these people, Biden and Bernie, all these people are going to need to build a profile denying them very important, crucial, in front of the nation FaceTime would maybe be the biggest advantage that Donald Trump would have. ICU also points out that you'd be able to triangulate the two gigantic erect statues in D.C. by looking across the country and finding my own. Because there's nothing that would excite me more than Donald Trump being primary. It would be such a shit show. Are you kidding me? He ain't getting fucking primaried. Stop it. Stop it. Of course he's not. Republicans won't stand up to him now. You think they're going to want to run into that buzzsaw? And maybe John Kasich, because he's kind of a loon. But other than that, anybody who wants a career in politics and wants to stay in the Republican Party, nobody would. Come on. Stop. Now, this is really going to happen. Oh, don't tease me. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited we're going to talk about a campaign again. Oh, God, I'm just telling you guys, I fucking hate talking about government. I hate it. Hate it. Love talking about this, though. Love talking about this. All right. I do think that this is a problem for Donald Trump. This is a real problem for Donald Trump. I think that he has some real bass problems. All about that bass. About that bass. No treble. Here's why. What have I always said? What have I always said about Donald Trump and his 2020 chances? He's going to be very, very hard to beat if the economy's good. Yeah, well, I don't know. If you have seen the Dow Industrial Average lately, but it's not doing so good. We don't see as many tweets about the roaring, record-breaking stock market as we did a few months ago. Now, might rebound, might go a different way, but right now, it looks a little bit mortal. If not, by some indicators, bad. So what happens if the two things that Donald Trump can always retreat to is the economy and, weirdly enough, foreign policy? These are things that, on a bipartisan basis, people give him credit for. What if one goes down? It's the economy, stupid, is the old phrase. But then you got some of the stuff that's happened over the last week. And by week, I even just mean 48 hours. Number one, we are facing a government shutdown, a possible government shutdown. Donald Trump has said, by way of his wacky little interaction with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, that he would be willing to shut down the government unless they get $5 billion for a border wall. Well, what happened yesterday was that apparently Sarah Huckabee Sanders said they can find that money elsewhere. They don't need to shut down the government to get that money. Some immigration hardliners, I like to call them Ann Coulter, they're a little pissed. They think it's a cave. I will say this. I think it will be a problem for Donald Trump if he is not in construction on a wall by the time that he hits the campaign trail for 2020. So if your point to me is Donald Trump is playing 4D chess, well, better start getting going, right? Because I'm assuming 4D chess has a 4D version of that box where you have to hit the time, right? We're running out of time. He either has to be building a border wall or have a real fucking good reason why he didn't, because that was his big thing. And he had total control of the government for 2 years. The Mexico thing, I think, is whatever. He even said, a lot of people, I think, are being disingenuous in the press when they're like, oh, he kept saying Mexico is going to pay for it. I watched a lot of those speeches. He said that he was like, even if it meant getting the money through trade or whatever, and that's what he's going to claim. But again, it needs to start getting built, or else it's going to be a problem. Now, I don't think he loses if he doesn't build it necessarily, but I do think that there's going to be a problem with the base. A lot of that base, will look at him and say, well, look, did you keep that promise? Why didn't you keep that promise? Then there was this that happened today. The White House issued a ban on bump stocks. Bump stocks are a modification to guns that have been used in some of the most deadly massacres over the last year. I swear to God, I hope I said it on this show, but I've said about Donald Trump since he got in that there has not been a more liberal Republican president in the office. Donald Trump has more of a rosy or more of an accepting outlook on issues that family values conservatives or very, very dyed-in-the-wool, hardcore Second Amendment conservatives don't. Donald Trump is for gun control. Donald Trump has been pro-gay rights in his life, right? Now, whether or not that bump stock ban continues, this is not something that will necessarily endear him with Second Amendment voters. This is not something that is in that orthodoxy. Second Amendment voters make up a significant part of the hardcore Trump base. And then there's this. Donald Trump, by way of Jared Kushner and Kim Kardashian randomly, have pushed forth this justice reform bill. That was something that law and order conservatives like Jeff Sessions and Mitch McConnell didn't really like. Hell, there was a chance that despite the fact that this thing wound up getting voted on in a landslide, a bipartisan landslide, Donald Trump legislation got a bipartisan landslide in the Senate in the middle of a shutdown crisis. Who would have thought? Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. But again, there are some law and order conservatives. Again, this is a guy, Donald Trump campaigned on the idea of, hey, we're for the cops. Hey, don't worry. The next time you find one of these scumbags, make sure you hit their head on the top of the car on the way in. That's how they used to do it back in my day. A slumping economy, no border wall, a bump stock ban, and justice reform. Now, I'm not saying that this spells doom, but I am saying that this is where you begin to see erosion of a base. Let's not forget, it only took read my lips, no new taxes to turn into, okay, new taxes, but they need to remain revenue neutral for conservatives to turn on George H.W. Bush. Now, George H.W. Bush never had the kind of diehard 30% base that Donald Trump has. But just saying, something to pay attention to. All right. All right. All right. All right. You guys ate your vegetables. Let's do it. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, come on in. Break up your big bills into ones because we have a Kentucky governor. Dance, 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 dance. This is a Mason-Dixon poll taken from December 12th to December 15th with a sample size of 625 registered voters and a 4% margin of error. Stepping up first to the stage, he is your sitting governor of the great state of Kentucky. Please welcome, with 40% of the vote, Matt Bevin! But your headliner, the Democratic challenger, he is Andy Beshner! 48% of the vote for Andy Beshner. That is Bevin 40, Beshner 48. Beshner has an 8-point spread. Oh, man. We got a new board. It's so much easier to do that now. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into but your emails. You can always email the show, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. $1 William asks, as the hypothetical possibility of a potential impeachment of the president reached new heights last week, it made me wonder, do you think some conservative pundits are already planning on how they will distance themselves from Donald Trump should he be impeached? The Alex Jones types can go full QAnon, but what about the serious journalists, quote unquote? Do they have a Trump exit strategy or do they need one? All right. You are missing a whole phase of this, William. Bill Clinton was never more popular than when he was being impeached. Impeachment is not an orderly process. It is not a process where people give up. It is, in fact, the most heightened fighting that you will see outside of an election. Specifically, an impeachment process that might be going on during an election. So there will not be exit strategies. There will be full red versus blue partisan warfare. The ratings will be higher than ever. The partisanship will be higher than ever. And up until Donald Trump resigns, there will be fights about, they'll be fighting, debating the evidence. Specifically, if the evidence is what it is right now, unless there's some other stuff. Now, look, for everybody, there's a line in the sand. For everybody, there's a, look, I was with him until I wasn't, but I don't think we've seen that yet. It'll be a specific thing. I mean, look at what forced Nixon out. We had to build a whole gigantic structure before he could get popped for obstruction of justice. Ninja Steve writes, he has normal voice and angry voice. Normal voice. You know the feeling when you're scrolling through your daily political news feed and you come across that one headline? You know which one I mean, because there's at least one in there every fucking day. Today, for me, it was Stephen King has explicit suggestion for what Donald Trump can do with his border wall. Now, I'm no fan of the Cheeto-in-Chief, and I've certainly said my share of explicit things about him too, but why is this news? Angry voice. I couldn't give half a fuck less what Stephen King yells about on Twitter. And if I did, I sure as Satan shits fire wouldn't want to read about it in my motherfucking news feed. Stephen King is a goddamn writer of spooky stories about pissed off possessed cars, creepy cannibal clowns, and zombie fucking cats. How does that make his political opinion newsworthy? Please tell me what political expertise the King of Horror has that allows serious journalists to turn one of his political opinion tweets into an entire fucking article. Mr. King is certainly entitled to express his opinion as he sees fit, but unless the president gets possessed by the spirit of an evil fucking clown zombie cat, he has no expertise. In other words, it doesn't give a good goddamn golly fucking matter what he says. The worst part of it is that I agree with him. Normal voice. And again, all right, new rule. Angry voice only gets 2 sentences. So either I'm going to pick the 2 sentences or no more fucking paragraphs of me doing the angry voice. Normal voice. Now, this story would be fine if it had been a one-off filler story on a slow news day. I'd scroll down, I'd read the headline, make the who cares jack off hand sign in the air, and then go on and do something more productive like look at cat videos. The problem here, though, is that there's a constant never-ending barrage of this trite trash beating my poor newsfeed into a slate of dumbfound fuckery. Stephen King taunts Trump. Chrissy Teigen blasts the Donald. Miley Cyrus has powerful words for the president. You'll never guess what Anne Rice just said about Donald Trump. Every day like a jolly fucking parade of I don't give a fuck traipsing across my screen. I'd say these stories about celebrity Twitter opinions are like Steph Curry dunking on a 3rd grader. But that's not even a close enough comparison. It's like Steph Curry dunking on a 3rd grader who isn't playing basketball and isn't even in the same goddamn building. Take that, little Donnie. What are you gonna do? You gonna go home and cry to mommy now? Ha! We liberals sure showed him. Well, thank you for getting that out, Ninja Steve. Here's why those stories pop up all the time is because they're great on both sides of the aisle. Liberals love to hear that their opinions were validated by artists that they like. Conservatives love to find pop culture people that they view as being hypocritical or being overly politically opinionated and like to criticize them for it. Everybody wins. Jorge writes, today I was very disappointed listening to PX3. I noticed all these immigrant French Poles coming into our podcast and taking good American Pole jobs. We really need to build that wall to make sure that American Poles are first. Love the show. Thank you, Jorge. Of course, he's commenting on the fact that we read an Emmanuel Macron poll on last week's show. Jim writes, I'm conservative, and Rep. Ocasio-Cortez amuses me, but I don't think she's stupid. I do think that she doesn't know what she doesn't know, and she tends to wing it rather than play it safe. As you said, sound familiar? She's politically inexperienced and not ready for the spotlight, but she's got it, and I don't blame her for soaking it in. She's got passion to burn, and she's telegenic. So she'll keep getting attention until she becomes tiresome or another new shiny object shows up sooner rather than later. But her policy proposals are, well, they kind of read like the underpants gnomes. I'm rooting for her purely from a selfish spectator sport perspective. Will she learn on the job? Will she become just another boring backbencher? Or will she keep Congress weird? Will she be a one-term wonder or the East Coast Maxine Waters? As with the WWE Trump show, I'm on the edge of my seat with what she'll say next. And if it helps, I'm old and off-white. Thank you so much, Jim. I think it's a healthy attitude to have about Ocasio-Cortez. I didn't mean to say that all conservatives think she's stupid. You know, just some of them. It's just an opinion that I've gathered by trolling the internet. Mark writes, to me, recent developments suggest we are in new territory regarding the Trump investigation. He could very well be indicted due to campaign finance violations. His defense is really weak. First, he said he didn't have anything to do with it, which fell apart after the National Enquirer and Michael Cohen refuted. Now he's using the John Edwards defense. We all know that Edwards was not found guilty after paying money to a campaign mistress he impregnated. However, the judge in the Edwards case stated that if one of the reasons the payments were made was to influence the election, that's a felony. Those are precisely the allegations with Trump. Michael Cohen said that these payments were done for the purpose of influencing the election, which was echoed by the National Enquirer. Trump doesn't have a decent defense to the campaign finance violations, which are very, very serious. All right, I'll fucking book. Well, I don't know if we can do it next week because it's Christmas, but in the new year, we got to book Dave Leventhal. We got to have the conversation about exactly how serious campaign finance violations are. I don't tend to think that they are that serious. I tend to think that there is enough wiggle room that there is a plausible legal defense to be made. And again, we're talking about impeachment, not a court case. Impeachment is a political process. So you're not talking about whether or not he violated the letter of the law. You're talking about whether or not you can convince the American public that he has done something for which he needs to vacate the White House right now. And in my opinion, I don't think that campaign finance violations meet that criteria. I think that what that does is now creates a conversation about literally every politician's possible campaign finance violations. There's going to be a million different versions of, well, what about this person that paid this person? Why wasn't that a thing? And now it's a thing. Why? Because it's Trump. Gigantic political lines drawn. Trump becomes more popular and is more likely to win the presidency of the United States. I don't think he's going to be impeached for it. But I've been wrong before, including Donald Trump getting elected. So maybe I'm wrong now. We will only have to wait and see. Folks, I need you to email me, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Music has been provided by Valesco and Trop Killers. Follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere and download archived episodes of this show at bonerwars.com. If you like talking politics with people that aren't going to jump down your fucking throat about everything, come on home, baby. bit.ly/jury discord is where you need to be. That is an always on, 24/7, a great conversation about all sorts of politics things. If you want a good place where you're able to just see new politics stories come in, new tweets come in, come on home. bit.ly/jury discord. All right. That about wraps it up for us. A reminder, some shows talk about politics. Some talk about politics. There's another one I read or listened to the other day that talked about politics, but this show you're listening to, is the only one that talks about the real. Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.